Hi everyone, thank you for coming to the screening of Black Box Diaries as part of the 48th Hong Kong International Film Festival. I'm Hkiff Program Consultant of the festival. Please join me to welcome the subject of this documentary, the director of the documentary, Mr. Israel. This Q&A in English primarily, but you're very welcome to ask your questions in Cantonese or Mandarin, and I will translate for you. 好歡迎大家用廣東話或者普通話問問題嘅。Oh, we have many questions already. Okay, before we start, we have limited time. I know you have a lot of things to say, but let's be a little bit brief so we can ask more questions and we can listen more from Shiori. Okay? Yeah, the gentleman in the center. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ito-san. And I read the documentary before about the cases.
Could you speak up a little bit, please?
The documentary, and then now with the books of the bad box before, and with your recent little book at Hatake no Yo Oyoko also. So, but I read that when I see this movie, I still feel very shocked. This is because from the image and also from the book is totally different.
The documentary is strong, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
I just wanted to ask, so in the books you say that the painful, and also from the film, that the painful hasn't been healed for a long time. After now is totally near 10 years after, and what do you still feel about the painful and everything around you? And have you have you feel a little bit healed from the documentary finish now? Sorry.
Thank you. Well, yes, I just found out a couple of days ago, it was the anniversary sort of the day it happened, and the great thing was I forgot about it. And one journalist was...
It was actually the first screening of the film.
Exactly, and the day after, I had an interview with some journalist, and a journalist, and she was like, by the way, do you remember today is, or yesterday is? And I was so shocked, because on this day, I usually feel not great, and just even I didn't remember, my body somehow reacts, and then maybe because I've been traveling a lot, and so thanks to the jet lag, but I didn't remember, so that's a good thing. And of course, I think it's everyone who went through the trauma we have up and down all the time, but I can surely say that the gap of down became much shallower. And here in Hong Kong, we've been sharing all the hot spicy food, and that has been helping me a lot.
She loves Sichuan food apparently, and she's very happy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been discovering so many amazing coping methods as well. So that has been super helpful. And while we were making this film, it was really hard to face it. But once we completed it, I felt like, yeah, we did it. And the documentary was great because it was really solely my work, me writing. But then through making this documentary, I've met amazing co-worker, team member who's here today. Producer Eric Nieri. He always gives me amazing wine to make sure that I don't always drink box wine. And here, KK Shiratama, which is an amazing so it was really healing process, I would say. I recommend if someone is facing something hard, making documentary helps.
Yeah, and okay, we have a question from the lady here. Thank you.
So, just briefly, I wanted to thank you for having the strength to make such a vulnerable film and to put yourself out there, and to depict yourself both the despair and also the joy as well. It makes, it shows, you as a person as well as your story. And I wanted to ask you, so as a journalist and a filmmaker, what do you feel that film has to offer uniquely as a method of storytelling?
Thank you. I felt like writing book, I purely focus on investigating and not putting too much of my emotion or what I was feeling because I felt that's not fair. But then years later, I realized that I've been it helped me, yeah, being journalist and like looking at this case from a bit of distance. But then I've been left out what was going on inside of me. And that was a moment I felt this is something maybe I can do in documentary film, but meaning that I had to clearly cross the line of journalism, and I couldn't do that in book or writing articles, and of course, so I feel like I discovered a new format. I couldn't, tell this story from other person's perspective, but I thought that's why this is important. That's something I can do, and I felt like often, especially these sexual violence story or surviving heart story have been always told by someone else, and I feel like we all have our own voice and we gotta use it. So I think that was very special about this film, and I'm just so happy that I've been making TV documentary books, but I never really meet with my audience like this, and after just facing you all and feeling all the emotions and being connected. I never had this experience before, so I'm very happy that we made a film and came here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, I just want to say thank you. Even though I didn't realize the trauma that you have experienced, but I can fully understand where your pain has come from, because I think it's a shared tragedy among all the women in this patriarchal society. At the end, I think that even the world doesn't get better, but we do get stronger. And I want to let you know that your story and your experience and all your effort do help a lot of women around the world and do encourage them to fight for themselves. And I just want to ask that after experiencing such a long war, maybe I could say that, what do you want to say to all the girls who have suffered or who unfortunately might be suffered sexual harassment or even rape in the future? What do you want to encourage them? Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for coming here. Woo, we have such amazing strong volunteers. Thank you. It's hard, but when I look back what I wanted here that time when I was facing this, I want to tell myself, believe in your truth, believe in my own truth, because when I faced this incident, many people told me, just forget about it, move on, or it's not worth it to face it. But the pain, and that you can't ignore it. So you're the only person who can face your own truth and believe in your truth. And once you start doing so, I think, no one else can do it. So I just want to say, believe in your truth, and we believe in your truth. And it's really, it might take some time, and I think everyone has a different way to cope with it, different way of surviving. For me, it was seeking the truth, but not talking about it is also surviving, So you just gotta find a way to survive so you can go step forward a bit by bit. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to add how daring and how significant a position you have taken, Shiori, when you decided to come forward. Because this case, you may be aware, when Shiori came forward, it actually preceded even the New York Times report on Harvey Weinstein, which led to the hashtag #MeToo movement. So you're really, really forward on that front in Japan and in a country which is relatively very, very conservative. So once again, a round of applause for Shiori. More questions? Yes, the lady in the back. Right.
Thank you.
been following your case like from very early, so I'm really happy that we finally won the
Could you
case.
speak up a little bit?
As I've been following your case for many years, I'm really happy that we won the case in 2019. My question is more related to the movie, because I noticed that at the first scene it was you speaking in English, and some of the scenes you actually use English to express yourself. Of course, many of them are in Japanese. And do you feel different when you express yourself or tell the story in English compared to the to tell it in Japanese? Or is it like a conscious decision as a director, or can you talk a bit more about that?
Thank you. I'm loving to talk about the film. You have more questions about film, great.
Yes, more questions about the film, okay?
Thank you. No, it was actually when we start filming. It was filmed by my friend and producer Hannah Acklin, who I met in London, who just called me out of nowhere through Skype. Yeah, we don't use that anymore, but
I still do.
sorry. And she was like, I read your case, I got to know about your case, and I have a Japanese friend and I know how hard it is. So why don't you just move to London and we start thinking about it? She's a journalist, but she never made a film, but she was so sure that I should get out and then, do something. So she decided to come back to Japan with me, saying no one can harm Swedish citizen. Like, I have the strongest, human rights shield, which we don't have much in Japan. And so I literally use her as a human shield. Like, I put her everywhere where we go. She was the one who was filming, and that's why I was always talking to her in English. But then, you're right. Like, when this incident happened, I was telling this guy, please stop. And I couldn't find another word to say because I was always taught that I gotta use the polite way to speak to men, to older people. So I didn't have the word, And so when, of course, please stop wouldn't work, I was panicked. Well, what should I do? He doesn't think this is a stop. So all of a sudden, I switched my mind and said, fuck off. And here you go. We never had that word to say fuck off before. And so I realized as a woman, as a Japanese, I didn't have the word to express my feeling or to say no, how to say no. And in Japanese language, we sometimes have this saying called no means yes. Of course no means no, like what the hell? But then that's how it is, and maybe we share something here. So yes, talking or expressing in English was much more straight, direct, and I was freely able to say fuck off. So now I have my friends gathered, especially girlfriends gathered, and sometimes we practice to say how to say fuck off because we don't have that in our language. So but sometimes I feel like the language has been what we have shaped ourselves, and sometimes it's really hard to get out from there. So I think that's why we mix. But when I was speaking Japanese, I had someone behind the camera in Japanese, so that's how we were communicating.
So in a way, this is also making this film and writing the book is also a form of liberating your expression. Maybe I can ask a question about film as well. In the film, the film involves many people. Some are in very sensitive positions, and they may not be willing to be filmed. So you rely on some voice recordings. And to balance that, I've noticed that you've used some very creative treatment of images, and there is a very special aesthetic of the film. How do you devise that visual representation in the film?
I'm happy you asked that because we have amazing person who worked with me here with me today. So when I first decided to make a film, and when we were discussing about how we can tell the story, I didn't want to see myself. I felt like this is not fair I don't know, we had so many footage because in the beginning I and my friends were recording, my friend was recording for just protection reason. So we didn't have much, in the beginning we didn't have an idea of the film. So when I decided I'm gonna do it, I thought maybe I can recreate what I was seeing that day or that time. So I went through the old diaries and tried to remember what happened that time, what I was looking at, and we tried to visualize it. And yeah, so we completely had a different film in the beginning. But then we realized that we do, of course, need to mix with, the real footage.
So those images invoke some of your experiences when you went through moments of frustrations.
And because some of the, recording only, of course, only had an audio, so we had to visualize it as well. And we are kind of hoping that we can also make a different film out of it, because we didn't use all of it. What KK made was amazing, and stop motion imagery as well.
Yes.
So yeah, we'll see.
So maybe another film is in development. Do you have more questions? Yes. The mic at the front.
Hello, I want to ask some details about the film. I noticed that at first time, the police refused to deal with your case because the lack of the evidence. And then now they decided to deal with it seriously. What happened in this procedure? Why make them decide to deal with it seriously?
So what I believe was that, the law we have is sort of mirroring how we rule the society, I believe. And how he told me when I went to the police station for the first time to report, he said, these things happens a lot and we can't take it. And I'm like, what? I was so naive. Of course I thought if I go there, they would just investigate and help me. But that wasn't the case. But then I learned later on in Japanese a legal system, we have really high prosecution rate. Really high, like almost 99%. So if you bring the case to prosecutor after investigating with police, it's kind of almost like there's a crime, like 100%. So he told me almost crying, saying, you know what? I'm in between you, victim, and prosecutor. You are telling me to do the case, cover the case, investigate the case, but the prosecutor is telling me not, because it's gonna damage the career if you prosecute it, and if you can't. If we don't update our law, I guess that's still the problem today. But that's why I learned that he was really discouraged by investigating because of the pressure from the prosecutor. But of course, I'm sure there's another reasons. I don't know. I needed to interview him one day.
Yes. Are you still in contact with investigator?
I have his. I introduced him to the Signal.
Yes.
But we're not very texting friends. No.
Right, because you don't want to marry him. Okay, we have time for one or two last questions. No. Oh, whoa. Okay. Last one, please. Yes.
So, because of this case, is there any change or proposal change of the law in Japan?
Great, we have amazing journalists here. So last year, we had a great update, which was our age of consent used to be 13 years old, and now it's 15.
Not bad.
And also, male victim can report a rape case. Before, it wasn't the case. So the biggest part that we gotta update now still is about the consent. So unconsensual sex isn't still rape legally in Japan. The victim has to prove how much you've been threatened or severely, violated to prove. So it's really hard to criminalize it. So that's something that we hope to see the change.
Yeah, and I'm sure your action has encouraged and inspired more women to come forward, but also more men to be more aware of what situations we're facing and the world that we live in and how we can support each other. So thank you very much again. I'm sorry we didn't have time
for Saturday night. It's not that good, easy work on Saturday night, but I
Thank you.
You're very brave.
And don't forget to vote. We have an audience.